our favorite products of 2019. We're going to start this off with one of my favorite products. One of my favorite categories is the soundbar. Lately, now that the holidays have been rolling around, my soundbar reviews have been blowing up lately. Notably, probably the most popular soundbar right now that I think a lot of people are getting for Christmas time is the Samsung Q90R, which is a Dolby Atmos soundbar. It does come with a wireless subwoofer. It comes with a set of rear speakers, Atmos up-firing speakers. So that seems to be like the big ticket, I think, as far as soundbars this year. But as far as just a straight soundbar, not counting, extra subwoofers, extra rear speakers, I do feel that the Sennheiser Ambio soundbar is the best choice. It's my favorite soundbar this year that I've reviewed. Only just for the simple fact that it is just purely a soundbar, and it does have has a nice kind of like virtual Atmos effect that does come overhead. It kind of showers you from the front overhead speakers, like virtual front overhead speakers. It does sound pretty good for that. It also does a really good job of expanding the sound stage outwards with its side drivers. So it kind of sounds like it's coming above you and also to the left and right of you. Almost kind of like just having side surrounds. It doesn't do anything for behind you, even though from my understanding it's supposed to project sound backwards and then and then bounce it forwards. My room wasn't big enough to try that out with, and even when I pulled my seat up forwards, I couldn't hear anything coming from behind me. But as far as purely a sound bar, like the best performing sound bar, I would have to give it my best recommendation would be for the Sennheiser. It does cost a lot of money. It's $2,500. But strictly an immersive soundbar, Sennheiser is going to take my top pick. Second place, close second place, would be the Samsung Q90R. Just for the simple fact that it does have a really good, when it works, really good phantom overhead effects, and also with the back speakers you also get Atmos effects behind your head as well, which the only other soundbar that I tried with kind of like virtual rear Atmos effects was the Sony HTZ9F, I think it was, but that's like doing some trickery with DSP and all that, which just didn't sound good at all. So I mean, if you really are kind of tight for space, you don't want a lot of electronics, then the Samsung Q90R, second place for me as far as soundbars go this year. And then of course the third place would be the LG SL10Y. Even though I really didn't feel that Atmos effects were really all that good with the LG. But I mean, if you want something to go with your C9 or your E9 flagship OLED TVs, and I could see you'd want to keep it all in the same family and just go with the LG, perfectly fine. Just the Atmos effects just weren't as convincing as the Sennheiser or the Samsung Q90. So top picks for the last year for 2019, soundbar wise, Sennheiser, and then the Q90R, number one and number two. Pre-pros this year, which is preamp processors, my top pick is going to be the Audio Control M5. Unfortunately, as far as processors go, you can only get these through custom installers or your like special order places, hi-fi shops. You can't walk into like your local Best Buy or PC Richards or anything like that. They're not like a big box brand. At least as far as I know, you can't go into any stores and just pick them up. So they really are kind of a like integrator focused as far as I'm aware of. But that would be my number one choice for best sounding preamp processor for this year. Even though it is based off the Arcam AV860, I do believe. Although the audio controller does add a set of XLR inputs. So if you're an audiophile and you want to get that extra, if you want to do a dual purpose home theater / music system, the audio control has the XLR ins. It's also got Dirac Live, which works straight out of the box. The best room correction that I've heard this year in my theater. Part of the reason why I gave it my top spot. The NAD I did review also this year, I think, and that was also a pretty good contender. But audio control would get my top spot. And then for being a little bit more affordable, which I think is more in reach of most of the folks on this channel that's doing separates, would be the XMC2, which is that guy right back there. Bam, right there. I still got it. I've been holding off on the review because I'm not ready to give it up just yet, because I know once I do the review, I'm going to have to give it up. So I'm holding on to it probably till maybe beginning of next year. But that's only, I think it's $3,000, so it's $29.99. I don't think the prices went up on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I still think it's $3,000. But that would be my close second for best preamp processor of 2019. Just for the fact that you do get 16 channels. You're supposed to get direct live at some point in time. So fingers crossed that that happens very soon before I give it up. It is fully differential. So if you have differential amps, you're going to get the cleanest possible sound, which I think is something a lot of preamp processors don't have. And it just sounds really good. I mean, it sounds better than anything I've heard from Rants or what I do recently, the 8805. I did the 8805 recently, and that was something like $4,500. And I kind of thought that would outperform the XMC, but for the money, I mean, the XMC2 just, I just feel it kind of destroys the 8805 for like $1,500 less. I know there's some bugs with it, but I haven't ran across any bugs, fingers crossed. So my top two choices for preamp processors 2019, it's going to be the Audio Control M5 and also the XMC2. Although Audio Control has now announced their new preamp processors for 2020, hopefully I can get my hands on the X7, which I'm kind of looking forward to. So those are my two favorite processors that I've done. Actually, I did the Anthem AV60 as well, but that's kind of getting long in the tooth now. It's a few years old. I would have to say that'd be like my number 3. What else? What else we got? And then subwoofer-wise, I've got like 2 on the list right now. I've got the, I do have the REL 1508s. That's on my list. But really kind of like best bang for your buck subwoofer would have to be the SBS SB3000. I think it's like $1,000 a piece right now. And I've got, they're sealed, of course. I'm more of a ported fan, but I've got the SBS 3000s here right now. I've got 2 of those guys here. I've had those for the past couple months. And I think for the money and the performance, especially the size, especially if you're starting out in home theater, I really feel the SBS 3000s are kind of my top pick for subwoofer. You know, if you're not all about getting 15-inch sizes or 18-inch or 20-inch size woofers and blowing out your eardrums or neighbors' windows, best bang for your buck, I really do feel the SB 3000s are like the best value, especially if you have it does have the app, so you can adjust PEQ. You got multiple bands of PEQ. You can control it with your smartphone or your tablet. You can variable phase. You can reverse polarity on it. I mean, it's like a really awesome performing subwoofer. It's very tight. It digs low for the size, for a 13.5-inch driver. Surprisingly awesome performance from that subwoofer. Right now, it's actually pulling double duty. I'm using it for the music system I've got in the living room right now. So I've got it paired up with the Martin Logan's, which I've got hooked up to the NAD M10 just for music only purposes. And it sounds fun. It sounds fun, like really, really good for music. So I mean, for $1,000, I think it's a fantastic performing subwoofer for $1,000 bucks. Then of course my runner-up would be my personal subwoofers right now are going to be the REL 1508s, which I didn't think a 15-inch subwoofer could sound better than a smaller subwoofer than the 13-inch driver in the SB3000s. But it actually sounds more musical than the SBS. And it's a bigger driver. I mean, they're both sealed enclosures. I don't want to say too much about it, but it just sounds a lot tighter than the 13-inch driver in the SBS. So I was a little surprised to hear that. Because at first my idea was to do the SB3000s up front in my home theater, which would carry a lot of that hefty mid-range probably like the 30 hertz and above, then I would have the 16s in the back of the room. But after I threw in the REL 1508s, it's just a tighter, I'd hate to say more musical sounding home theater subwoofer, but it definitely has more musicality to it than any of the SVSs that I've had in here recently. So I'll just leave it at that. But my second runner-up would have to be the REL 1508s, subwoofer-wise. So that's all I have to say about that. My top two picks. Number one, SBS SB3000, number one, and then the REL 1508s. Number one and number two for 2019, my two favorite subwoofers of the year. Then, of course, I haven't done the LG yet, but my favorite ultra, not necessarily ultra short throw, but my favorite projector of 2019, one that I just did recently, one that I think is an affordable addition for anybody getting into home theater, would have to be the Optoma Cinema X P1. I know it started off at $32.99, so it was like $3,300 when it first got announced. But since the tariffs have hit, a lot of the prices of electronics have went up, and so did the Optoma. It's now $37.99, so it went up a few $100. But I have been reviewing the P1 also against the VAVA and also against the LG. I don't want to say too much about the LG, but there is one major flaw with the LG that, at least for me, is a humongous deal breaker, and I just can't recommend the LG over the Optoma. I think I'd probably take the VAVA over the LG just for this one major flaw, which I'm going to keep for the review, so I'm not gonna say what it is yet. But probably next week I'll have the LG review out. But my top pick, just for pure picture performance and features, quietness, and how it sounds, would have to be the Optoma. This is my favorite projector of 2019. It's quiet, fantastic image. You don't have to have a dedicated space for it. You can go in your living room. You can, if you want to mount it on your ceiling, you can mount it on your ceiling. But it takes up minimal space. Not as minimal as the LG, but I mean, you have to have a little bit of distance between the screen and the projector. But I mean, if you really want to get out of using a television set for your home theater, if there's one thing that bothers me that I see about when I see a lot of home theater setups, I'll see these honking towers and these humongous subwoofers. Sometimes I'll see like stacked like 18s or what have you. And then right in the middle of that, I'll see a tiny 65-inch or 55-inch TV that's just being dwarfed by all these speakers. And I think if you're going to drop all this coin on all these speakers and dual 16s or dual 18-inch subwoofers, and you have a rinky-dink television set, kind of defeats the purpose of doing a home theater. Whereas now that we have these ultra short throw projectors for the same price as a top quality high-end television set, you can get a top quality image for only like $3,800. That's it's a little bit cheaper than a 77-inch OLED, but you're getting a massive screen. You're getting like a 120-inch screen, which an OLED, if you get a 100-inch OLED, even I don't even have to have one, right? It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's going to be like 25 grand or something like that. I think actually, I think Sony's OLED is something like 15 grand for their A9G 100-inch. So I mean, for a fraction of the cost, to go along with your big tower speakers and your big humongous subwoofers, I really think the ultra short throw is kind of it's going to be a growing category, probably next year. The technology is going to get cheaper. DLP image quality is just going to get better. Hopefully DLP will have native 4K chips at some point in time. I know it's not native, but you still are getting 8.3 million pixels on screen all at once. So even though it isn't native, like straight out of the projector, you are getting projected 8.3 million pixels on your screen. So it will do a lot better than even like the Epson or JVC upscaling projectors, which are only going to throw 4 million pixels on the screen. So I mean, my top choice for projector of the year is going to be the Optoma Cinema X P1. Awesome projector. Definitely go check it out if you're in the New York area. They have it at B&H Photo. Or if you're in Scarsdale, then go visit my guy Robert over at Value Electronics. He sells it as well, which I'm pretty sure he can get it in stock. I think everywhere else that you ordered from, they're really back ordered for some strange reason. But that's my best pick for projector of the year, Optoma. Your winner, Optoma. And then amplifier of the year. One of my favorite ones that I've done. I'm gonna have to give it, well, aside from the one that I kept myself, I've got the Rotels here. Those are my favorites. I hate to be like those are my number one picks because it'd be kind of biased. But the 1590 is an awesome sounding amplifier. It's only $3,000. Very musical. It's got a warm texture to it. Nice, sweet mid-range. Maybe slightly soft on the high end, which I think is really good for movie soundtracks. My top pick, Rotel 1590. Second pick would have to be the Emotiva DRC 3 or any of their DRC lines because it's an affordable amplifier. It's also fully differential, so if you match it up with any of their processors, you will get that noise rejection. So if you have a crappy electricity in your apartment or your home, like I have in my place here, it's going to give you a very, very low noise floor, which is going to help to hear all those little subtle nuances in your movie soundtracks. So that's definitely, besides the Rotel, I'd give the Emotiva my top pick, the DRC. I think usually for the Emotiva brands, I think a lot of people tend to go for the XPA line because it is more affordable. But if you do have a higher end system, then the DRC line is going to give you a higher end sound that I feel. So Emotiva and Rotel, my top two amplifier picks for 2019. And then, not talking about AV equipment, my number one pick for movies this year, 4K Blu-rays this year, my number one pick is going to be announced tomorrow, which we're doing a premiere for. So you're going to have to hold off to see what the number one pick for best 4K movie is. So that's it. My top list for 2019 products. AV equipment for home theater.